All right, Syndicate members, I have kind of a rush project going on. I have a direct in with a TV show, a specific TV show. It's called The Last OG, and they're working on season two. They've done season one already. It's on. It already aired. We're on season two now, and they want stuff from me. So I'm trying to get stuff to them as soon as possible. Meaning, the moment I accept things from you guys, I'm gonna start getting it ready to get to them. So I need two types of music for this project, and I'm providing two links for this project. It's 90s hip hop and 80s hip hop. I've mentioned before in some of my other reviews and stuff, this stuff is very useful, and this show is a perfect example. The show is about a guy who was in prison for the last 15 years, gets out and lives in, I think it's Brooklyn, and and they flash back and forth between Brooklyn in the early 90s and now. And so there's a lot of music that they need to have for when they're in the flashbacks. And there's a lot of shows that do that. I've been in contact with the music supervisor, and they're basically saying, yes, we need 80s and 90s hip hop for season two, and they haven't shot it yet, but they have the script for the whole season, so they kind of know what they want. And we basically have kind of an early in because they haven't started searching for music yet from other companies. But I just had a meeting with one of them, and he basically said, yes, if you can give me some good 90s hip hop, some good 80s hip hop, I have places that I'll be able to put it in really easy. And as a music supervisor, he loves stuff like that because it makes his job easier. He even said he doesn't want to go sifting through all the other libraries that he has because they're so big a lot of the times. I mean, I don't know if any of you guys have been on, Warner Chappell's or Universal's libraries, but it's like thousands and thousands of tracks. So if I can, plus GID needs this stuff anyway, but if I can get this stuff, put it together into albums and get it to them soon, some pretty quick, direct placements right away. So that's kind of the explanation of what this is. It's pretty straightforward. This is also not just for this show. This is for the catalog. I'm going to treat this just like all of the other albums that I'm doing, where I'm going to collect 10 total, make an album, release it, and try and also get it licensed to other stuff, not just this one show. The reason for the hurry is because this is some really direct stuff, and I want to, get it to them soon, because this early in the stage, if we can get them the music they want, they're probably going to put it in. So I wanted to come to you guys and be like, look, a week is like my deadline. So I'm going to put the deadline for this as a week from today, which would be next Wednesday, which is I'll have it in the thing. I can't find the calendar right now. There it is. No, that's not it. Oh well, I'll find it later. Anyway, it's next. The due date will be in the description. How about that? And it's kind of a rush, so I want to I made two playlists of examples, and I'm going to kind of explain a little bit, because I think the hardest part for this project is going to be nailing down the sound, because there is a difference between sounding old and good and just sounding old and okay. Because it's, the music, the hit songs from these eras, there was something special about them, and it's not just using the similar sounds and making a basic track around those similar sounds. A lot of, like, for example, the 90s and 80s hip hop, there was a lot of like certain type of bounce to the hip hop beat, even though the drums were kind of crappy and straightforward and stuff. There was still a little bit of like a lot of times it's like the feel of the MPC that was used, or just the sample they might have used was delayed or something. Like, there's all this stuff that makes it unique that I think that we're gonna have to kind of focus on here for certain ones of these, and also for some of the more R&B type stuff, because it's gonna be hip hop. In the 90s stuff, there's a little bit of R&B stuff in there too, as you can see right now on the screen. No Scrubs, TLC No Scrubs is one, which is that era of hip hop / R&B. So we're gonna go through 90s first, and then we'll go through 80s, and then I'll kind of wrap it up and just let you guys get to work, because we got a lot of work to do. This is a quick but big deal. So let's just play some of these. So it's gonna play an ad, isn't it? Nope.
Get no love from me. Hanging on the passenger side of his best friend's ride, trying to holler at me. I don't want no scrub. A scrub is a guy that can't get no love from me. Hanging on the passenger side of his best friend's ride, trying.
Right. So for example, for this song, this is, I don't know how much back in the day producers many of you know, but this is basically Teddy Riley, right? So this song might not be him, but this is kind of the sound that that became popular, and it was these certain type of drums, certain type of synth percussion elements in here, like
Holler at me. Taking me, but it's time and no. I don't want no scrub. A scrub is a guy that can't get no love.
like the shaker, the triangle. Those are all like either 808s or 909s or some sort of drum machine sound, because this was before Splice, right? This was before a lot of that other, like the sample library companies. So this was what was in the keyboard, is the sound that you had, you know. So they would have Tritons, or they'd have MPCs, or they would have drum machines like the 808s and the 909s and stuff. So they would use those to try and be creative. And since everybody's using the same sounds, they had to do things to make them unique. And so they would do certain creative shaker patterns or triangle patterns or whatever to kind of distinguish themselves from everybody else using the same drum sounds.
From me, hanging on the passenger side of his best friend's ride, trying to holler at me. I don't want no scrub. Get no love from me, hanging on the passenger side. Yes, I'll never leave.
You know, and this one is a more like straightforward, like East Coast, boom, you know, kind of deal. The other one was more like drum machines. This is like a sampled hip hop beat or whatever. But this also, you know, the horn sample thing got going on there. Still, it feels East Coast, which is good because the show is set in Brooklyn, in New York. So these kinds of like East Coast feels are perfect for it.
Surrounded, only 'cause I need some affection. Oh, so I creep, yeah, just
Yeah, like so much of this is just the bounce, especially in the drums. You know, those drums just make you kind of go like this, you know, and it's not as easy as just putting in that beat, you know, on grid. Like there's a bounce to it. You know, you feel the track just as much as you hear it. Everybody, like I said, everybody's using the same sounds and stuff at that in this era, and so you want to do things to kind of distinguish yourself. And one of them is the way that the track feels, along with, you know, the sample sounds that they used.
until the day he pushes me away. Never go astray.
So while the sounds are lower quality than what we're used to nowadays, it still has this like, this is just good. You know, it's a good beat, good sounds like for the time, and then altogether the song just sounds like cohesive because they all like go together quality wise and stuff. And so trying to recreate that is going to be the tough part here without sounding just kind of like bad, you know. So let's see a couple more of the 90s. I love this song. Come on, let's go.
I bet 400, young blood.
He ain't got nothing. He selling was
There we go. This is another example of that. Like, I'm pretty sure Teddy Riley did this one, and this is the bounce, the percussion sounds, everything just like was unique with the same sounds everybody else in this era was using. Like that bounce with the drums, the little like things that are happening with the percussion, kind of bouncing the track as well. Like you can hear, so you can hear the little high percussion in there, just kind of bouncing the track up, along with the just, and then it's got the little triangle thing going on back there, and it just creates this kind of this feel good bounce and stuff.
Cause Mr. DJ Quick got a brand new bag, but first I got a bang bang, a boogie for the boogie.
You know, the triangle hitting on like a little bit on the offbeat, and then the shaker just kind of doing its thing on the side and stuff. So like all that kind of stuff is, all those little nuances are what make it unique, and where you can, like, if you don't have those, then it just sounds like a crappy drum beat. But then the other stuff, it doesn't. So it's
to the rhythm of the ghetto streets. Check it out now. You trying to give me some 8-ball, but no way. I'd rather have a mimosa with Cristal and OJ. Yeah, just a little something bubbly and tingly to have me walking around naked.
And you'll be able to tell, you go through some of the 90s stuff and they're like using the same clap, similar like shaker, you know, that kind of stuff, which you want to then use in yours because it kind of defines the time in a lot of ways. A lot of these are R&B. Let me get to hip hop. Hey, Nad, fun stuff. Let's see this one real quick.
Girl, I don't know.
Yeah, like this beat is actually very similar to the last track, the drum part, and then the other stuff on top of it is different. But you'll notice that with a lot of, like, I mean, I'm pretty sure again this is another Teddy Riley thing. The beat is very similar, like almost the same exact shaker, kind of a similar bounce and stuff. But I guarantee you, in almost all of these songs, everything, all of the sounds come from these old analog like keyboards and stuff. So you might want to look into. I mean, like I can name some of them. You know, the 808, the 909, the JP 8080, I think, or maybe it's the JP 800. The Triton. Everybody knows the Triton. They might have had the red keyboard. I don't know. Just the older 90s popular keyboards. That were around back then. That's where all these sounds came from. These fake strings, their bass lines, they all came from these older keyboards that you might want to look into and find recreations of. Maybe not plug-in recreations, but like sampled versions. Like I know that I had bought, somebody had resampled the entire Triton rack into a sampler pack, and I'd bought one, so I have the Triton sound in my Logic in EXS24. So looking for stuff like that might really help with this project as well. Let's look for hip hop. Let's go with Ice Cube.
So back on up, boy, check that chin down and I'm full off hand. You get no love, and I thought you knew it, fool.
You know, same kind of thing. You know, it's just 90s sounding drums and drum beats and it's just. I don't know. It's pretty self-explanatory when you go through. Let's go to Tupac.
My daughter's dead. Somebody's got to pay for it.
I got you.
50 Cent.
Family sticks together no matter what.
When I was pregnant in jail,
Even as a crack fiend, mama, you always was a black queen, mama. I finally understand, for a woman it ain't easy trying to raise a man. You always was committed, a poor single mother on welfare. Tell me how
You know, same thing. Just that, you know, like the and that beat was very similar to the Ice Cube beat that was earlier. It's just the sounds were just kind of a little gritty, a little bit on the older sounding side, and then you had some sort of sample type thing to kind of on top that wasn't too flashy, isn't too like bright and over the top and stuff, and it just kind of creates this nice 90s track. So now we're gonna go to 80s real quick. Let me get the link. I think that's it. There we go. So 80s is actually a lot easier too, because the sound limitations are almost even less, and it's really straightforward. There's almost no bounce or anything. It's just straightforward. A lot of reverb on certain things like snares and stuff, and just like one sample that kind of defines the thing. Like you'll be able. I'll show you in this one.
Hey, hit it. Let's go. This little girlie, her hair was kind of curly. Went to her house and
100% this whole track, drum wise, was probably done on one little drum machine, and that's it. And it's just boom, 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 reverb on the snare, boom, 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 you know. And then they would throw in like a guitar sample in there. Like, but that was a really well picked and like full guitar sample. So you had these drums that just were really big because of like the reverb and the hit on them and all that stuff. You know, just like it made that song, and like that's it. Like it just needs to be high, you know, full and catchy and creative and all that stuff. But that's it. It's really straightforward, and that's like the '90s. I mean, all of these sound very similar. I mean, the '80s. Sorry, all of these sound very similar. And this one has a little more keyboard work on it, but that drum, again, that drum thing is just one with a little hi-hat, and then they're in a melody with a keyboard that isn't like, I wouldn't use Serum on this project, right? I wouldn't use Omnisphere. Like I would use something that sounds older but high quality still. See here. Other ones. This is a perfect example too. Super straightforward. Not this one. It's like all that reverb on the snare, and it's just straightforward. Doom, ta, doom, ta, ba-doom, doom, doom, doom. You know, whatever is going on there. And it's just super straightforward, but really full sounding and heavy, and usually like random little samples thrown in there. Like that. And especially in the 80s thing, find some DJ scratches. That's like, I mean, that's when it was the most prevalent, is the DJ scratches, because the track gets boring with the boom, 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 boom. You know, you could throw some DJ scratches in there too. It would be perfect. So those are my notes on the music part. And like I said, for the 90s stuff, like a blend between hip hop and R&B type stuff would be perfect. Like the examples that I played for you, some of them really hip hop, some of them just in the R&B. Not the 80s thing, straight up just this like heavy hip hop, you know, with the big full sample thing. You know, that kind of stuff, and just really try and get into the feel of the time, of the era and stuff. So I really want to get as much in this first week as I possibly can from you guys. So I'm making the due date next Wednesday, so that I can get as much of it from you guys as I can, so I can get it all together, package it all up, get it to the client as soon as possible, so that he's just like, you guys are killing it, because pleasing this client just brings more work to you guys. So let's get it done.